Now, the aim of this RTI is to give people clear information, reduce corruption, increase accountability in all public authorities. Under this act, the people will have right to seek information, including government organization, and the law lists down rules and procedures of how somebody can request for information. Information is a very, very vast word. It has got different meanings, different connections, different ideologies altogether. Good morning and welcome to the second session, Chapter 1, Unit 2, 4th semester BCom, Good Governance of India, where we are going to speak about Right to Information Act. Now, in this session, we are going to talk about RTI's Act's principal goal, where how powerful it is in the modern day in order to get the right information at the right time. Now, the aim of this RTI is to give people clear information, reduce corruption, increase accountability in all public authorities. So we are talking about governance, which stands for transparency, which stands for accountability, which stands for accessibility. So whenever people are going to demand for information, they need to get it at the right time, at the right place. So the Right to Information Act enables people to understand that whenever they want an information regarding a utility, a service, or any other kind of documents, they have to get it from the concerned department, from the concerned institution altogether. Now, the Right to Information Act was passed by the Parliament of India that allows Indian citizens to obtain information from public authorities. Gone are the days when people used to say that this information is not available. This information cannot be shared to the public. You have no rights to access it. After the Act of Parliament being passed, every citizen will have the right to go back, question the public authority and find out where the information is. So if there is any clarity required regarding any piece of information, the citizen will have the right to go back to that particular department, question and get the correct answer. Followed by, this Information Act was passed on May 11, 2005 in the Lok Sabha and then May 12th in the Rajya Sabha. After much of deliberation, the project was given a green light on June 15th, 2005. Only 120 days of it were passed. The Right to Information Act went to force on October 12, 2005. So what we do is that we started this entire idea in the month of May, and by the month of October, we got the complete green light. It was enacted and every citizen will have the right in terms of achieving the information. Under this act, the people will have right to seek information, including government organization, and the law lists down rules and procedures of how somebody can request for information. Citizen can request any government document, get certified copies of the same. So the aim of this particular act is to make the citizen aware about what has happened, how it has happened, and where that particular information can be sought after. Now, for a citizen to enable to make use of this act, there are some steps, there are some procedures which he needs to go through so that he will be able to get the right information at the right time. Followed by, now what does the Right to Information Act say about the meaning information? That itself is very, very important for us to understand. According to it, information can come in many forms: memos, emails, documents, press release, opinions, advice, circulars, logbooks, reports, samples, models, data, or in any electronic form. Which means to say that information is a very, very vast word. It has got different meanings, different connections, different ideologies altogether. Sometimes one might feel that, whenever we are passing on information, it might not be in the same format as written on a textbook, as written on some official document. It might be an email, it might be a circular, it might be a memo, it might be something which is just written in an electronic format in PDF or any other document altogether. But in order to achieve that information, which is very, very crucial at that point of time, it becomes the duty of the citizen to go back, understand, and take it back. So that's why I would say that this act is very, very powerful. It gives the right, it gives the information in terms of finding it out, understanding how we can make the best use of it so that you get the right information at the right time. Followed by, we are also going to understand about the RTI from the feature standpoint. Now, it lets the government start in terms of looking in for the documents, and you can ask for any public information as told. Now, all government bodies, whether you are from state or central, are liable to respond to an RTI query. Now, this is very important. You being in the government office or in a government role position, you cannot deny any citizen by saying that I will not give the information. No, that cannot be an answer anymore. The very simple word that we use in our life, I don't know, will not be applicable here. When a citizen comes to you asking you, requesting you for information, you are liable to respond. So the government-owned organizations are also liable to provide information under the RTI Act. A public information officer will be designated to handle queries. This person accepts the request forms and gives the public information they want. So there is a department, there is a designated officer who will take the queries in the form, and then he will pass on the information to the citizens that are being requested and that are being required at any given point of time. Followed by which there are assistant PIOs work in every district or divisional level which help people to get information. Now, the most crucial thing that we have to understand in this entire setup is that everybody is trying to seek information in some or the other format. The reason is that most of the time people were unaware of what was happening around them, both in the business or in the social, as well as from a public life altogether. But with the enablement of RTI, now everybody will try to seek information of how it is, how it can be done, what are the do's and don'ts, and why it is important for us to go in for certain benefits or facilities. So in this way, the information that is being made timely available to the citizens actually help them to understand things better. They don't have to depend every time on the internet. They don't have to depend on the expert opinion. They can go and find it out by themselves. Followed by, every person wants to get information under RTI must fill out the application in Hindi or English, send it by email. If you can't write it, the PIOs will assist in putting an oral request in writing. So this is where you see that the request itself is in an electronic format. It is being stored and it is being kept in a particular way, so that now what will happen to you is that every time you will have the right, you will have the request where you can make it in electronic form. It has to be only in English or Hindi. In case if you are not able to do it, the PIOs are there to assist you. If the applicant is deaf, blind, or disabilities, right, let's say that he's a differently abled person, public authority must offer assistance and access. And that also becomes very important. Why? Because if the person is differently able, you are definitely going to get some help from the department in terms of accessing the information. Followed by which, we also say that the applicant doesn't need to explain why the information is needed. So no more you have to go on an explanation mode trying to tell people why I need information. You want it, it will be available. The applicant can file a complaint against the PIO. Mark these lines very clearly. Why? Because if he does not give the information on time. So if the public information officer is not going to give the information, he would be liable to face a case in the court. Now, any information that can be given to the legislative assembly must be given to any applicant under the RTI. So this becomes very, very important. You cannot deny this fact anymore. Followed by which, PIOs are liable to pay a fine of 250 rupees per day in case of delaying or furnishing the information that is requested. So this becomes even more interesting for the factor that if you're not doing it on time, this becomes very, very important. This becomes very in need of the hour, that if you're not going to pay for the information on time, yes, you're liable to put in a fine altogether. Now, Section 2H of the RTI Act explains what a public authority is. A public authority is any person or institution, self-government, that has been set up under because of the Constitution, law of the Parliament, or any other legislation approved or by a government notification. So moment you say a public authority, it can be water board, or it can be the electricity, it can be the public services. All of these are created either by the Constitution, Parliament, State Assembly, Legislative, or through a government notification. All these things will be classified under the public authority. Followed by a public authority can be organization that can be owned, controlled by government authority. This will also include non-governmental organization that will get a significant amount of funding from the government. So there are many times where we might see that there are NGOs, there are organizations which are linked up in terms of working with the government. They get funds from the government. Even those people will come under the RTI Act. There has been debates about this part because it leaves open the question of what ownership is or substantial financing means. So that's also an important thing. Such questions have been prompted a lot of conversation that I've been talking about in terms of transparency of this act. Consequently, this element of term is being used, and there are many times when we have dealt with the RTI Act altogether. So somewhere down the line, we'll also see that many times there are chances that the RTI has not been able to fulfill, the RTI has not been able to give the information of time, but nevertheless, there are substantial controlling, there are substantial factors that we are using it under the RTI to get the information on time. The conclusion part of the RTI, when we come to this area, is that it has been a very, very significant criticism that has been going on because they say that the Act is not able to reach its full goal because of systematic flaws. Even now, people find it that though there are legal laws and legislations, but still I'm not able to get exactly what I want because the accessibility is still restricted. However, the fact that RTI gives us the rare chance to look into the government work, especially at grassroots level, every citizen will have the most to say in how the things have been done. So now what is happening is that the public are able to see it transparently how the government works are being completed, where the challenges are, where they have gone wrong, and with the social media coming up to the highlighting part of it, everything becomes publicly accessible to all the citizens in our country. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the information shared through this session would be of a great help, both in terms of theory as well as in the practical walk of life. In the upcoming session, we are going to talk about e-governance, which is one of the most important models that is coming up in the political science as well as in the modern day world. Until then, I would request all of you to stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.